we got the deliveries recently, right, at the beginning of the month. They were at a record, but it's not like they wowed people, right? They pretty much met expectations. And the numbers haven't really come down in terms of expectations now going into tonight. So put it into perspective. What does all that mean for us?
I hate to say this is a case where the Q1 numbers don't matter, but to a certain extent, unless something is wildly out of line, people are not going to be moved by these numbers. And what I mean by that is, generally speaking, most of the analysts have baked in their expectations for the first quarter. The metrics to look for tonight, whether it's from the report or from the guidance or from the conference call, come down to this. Gross auto margins, they were 29.2% in the fourth quarter. Most expect them to be about 28.8, 28.9%. Unless that's dramatically different, that's not going to move things. What's the situation when it comes to the chip supply and inflation? We know the story there. Tesla's managed the chip supply better than most of their competitors. But the China production outlook, Scott, I think this is the one that's going to get the most attention. We know that they shut down the plant because of COVID restrictions the final 5 days of the first quarter. So that does impact the numbers to an extent. Not a huge amount, but it does impact it. And it hasn't really fired up production since then. I think it's on a limited basis, according to local media reports, which then raises the question, what are they expecting for the rest of April and then for the second quarter? Because China really is the driver of deliveries, as at least right now, until they get Germany and Texas up. And yes, we know what's going on with Fremont. So in terms of the overall estimates, I think that most are saying, okay, we know what we expect for the first quarter. It's really the second quarter and the third quarter that's going to get the most attention. By the way, analysts are expecting for the full year deliveries to come in at 1.49 million. That is the latest consensus. Tesla will not give guidance. I don't expect them to give guidance. They're sticking with their usual 50% annual growth, which would bring it up to about 1.45, 1.46 million. And by the way, Elon Musk will be on the conference call tonight. So we know that a lot of the questions are going to revolve around Twitter. And I've been on these calls before, Scott. Elon Musk, he wants to talk about what he wants to talk about. Of course. And in this case, he's going to want to talk about Tesla. Maybe he does want to talk about Twitter, but he's going to get a lot of questions about if you're going to be collateralizing your stake in Tesla for Twitter. How much concern do you have? Yada, yada, yada. I'll be curious to see how patient he is with those questions.
And investors really need to maybe temper their expectations as well, Phil, on the stock move post-earnings. I didn't realize this until I was doing some research on it for earnings later, that the stock, you know, on a beat doesn't typically move up anywhere close to the degree it moves lower on a miss. Now, maybe some of that has to do into the report, right? I'm not sure.
Correct. Typically, where you see this stock move, and it tends to be in a very short period of time where it will dramatically move higher, typically that is not tied to an earnings report. It is typically well in advance where they say, hey, we are going to be increasing production, or everybody starts crunching the numbers and they say, yikes, they're going to go a lot higher in terms of their production. That's when we have seen the stock move in the past.
Yeah, big, I mean, the options market's pointing to a big move one way or the other, 5 or 6%. Phil, I'll see you in overtime. Thank you. That's Phil LeBeau.